Have I ever not been there for you?
He didn't actually understand. He didn't get the dynamic we had and what it did to us. And me neither, actually. Up until today, I lived some sort of a misunderstanding. But it's over. It's true. You were there. Not just when we lost Astrid, you've always been there. I knew that whatever happened, you'd be there. It's not easy to explain why you fall in love with someone. There was no love at first sight between your father and I. We even lost touch after high school. And still, I went to university in Lyon, and he studied video games in Angoulême, across the country. We found each other again by chance, 3 years later at a friend's party. We talked all night. It was as if we had never been apart. About movies, of course. More specifically, Bridge to Terabithia. A drama about two awkward tweens who become friends. I spent 3 hours explaining to him that I thought the movie sucked, while he cried, reminiscing about the end. He was crying so hard and laughing at the same time. The other guests didn't understand. It's amazing, he said, that you can make art that moves you this way. Oh. Your father loves big emotions. On a day-to-day basis, he seems impervious, but it's all a facade. I was really impressed to see him spill his guts in public. It felt cathartic. I like to hide behind my cynicism. But I have to say, I was kind of jealous. At some point that night, we started making out. And I immediately knew that it would last. There was something in his eyes. I was really anxious at the time about everything. But when I woke up at his place the next day, for a brief moment, the oppressive feeling had disappeared. It happened again when I saw him the next day, and the day after, and then after that, every time we met, in spite of the distance. I felt like I was taking drugs, and it was really good. Do you remember your dollhouse? Marie gave it to you. She had built it herself in secret. It was really detailed. There were even miniature figurines of Alex and I for you to play with. Of course you remember. You took to it immediately. You were making up all kinds of stories about daily life where you were the hero. It's true. I did it. I stole your house from Alex and threw it away. I don't know why. Could you forgive me? If I had a really good reason? This is Pauline, your father's new girlfriend. Actually, we've known her since high school, but I haven't seen her in a while. She's a great girl, you know. I'm sure your dad will be happy with her. She's one of those people who hasn't lost their sense of wonder growing up. In that regard, she actually reminds me of you. Your dad is still making video games, but he quit the big company he used to work for. Now he's making a game on his own. I don't know much about it. I think it's about you. In a way, every game he ever worked on talked about you. The games you were playing together actually gave him tons of ideas for his work. I thought Alex had gotten rid of that house when he cleaned out your room. After you passed, I never wondered where it was. I just forgot about it. Some people say that the dead haunt houses. I was afraid that you would haunt that one. Afraid to hear your voice if I stared at it for too long. Alex moved into this place with his new girlfriend about a year ago. He looked happy. Suburban homes aren't my thing, but I was relieved that he had finally left the apartment where the three of us had lived. When I learned that Alex and Pauline were moving in together, I thought he had turned the page. Do you want to know what I felt? It's complicated. I think I was impressed. Once more, your father had demonstrated that he was stronger than me, and I'd like to say that I was happy for him. But in truth, I envied him. Your father had everything, A new girlfriend, a nice house, his life on track. Meanwhile, I was over here, toiling, slowly crawling out of the hole. And I needed to see him so he could comfort me. Just like before, I thought he owed me that. I pictured Alex alone in his office, using his job as an excuse to play with your house. I found that pitiful. That didn't fit at all with the idea I had of him, always moving forward, never moping around. And then I realized that maybe he wasn't telling me everything about his feelings. He started doing it at work, just so that he could meet his deadlines. Sometimes we did it together, at parties for fun. Oh, all right, I know it's bad, but when we knew that you were coming, we stopped. And that's why I was surprised to see some at his place last week. He tried to hide it, but I laughed in his face. I'm not his mom. Still, though, I thought to myself it was a bad sign. Alex looked gaunt. Not just because of the blow, it was like he'd been crying. I tried to talk to him, ask him how he was doing. He just dodged the question. So I insisted, but he said he wanted to show me something, and he started a video game. Something called Night Call. A murder mystery noir where you play a taxi driver. It was really good, but it's hard to have a conversation with a controller in your hands. We had a great night in the end. We drank beers, we played, we laughed. And after a while, he asked me what I was doing there. Really, I thought about telling him the truth. But instead, I kissed him. I don't know what came upon me. He kissed me. And more. It was very nice. Much more intense than it used to be before. And it made me want to cry because that was way too late. Perhaps I threw away the house to shake up Alex, to get a reaction from him, so he could be mad at me, so he could snap out of his lurch. Perhaps I threw away that house because I was jealous of Alex's new life. In fact, I might have wanted to show your father what he was losing by losing us. Perhaps I threw away that house because that was my gift to him. Perhaps I thought he needed this old relic out of his life. Perhaps I threw away that house because I was mad at Alex. His whole stuck in nostalgia thing, I found it incredibly offensive. I'm sure all of that contributed to my reaction to a certain extent. I was jealous, a bit petty, conflicted, and on top of that, I was a dollhouse thief. But there was something else, something that really hurt me, and that I'm only understanding now. I was ashamed. I came to demand support from Alex. I thought it was unfair that he was already happy again. But when I came across that dollhouse, I realized that he missed you as much as I did, which is actually why I threw it away. That's the reason. The dollhouse was proof that for years I had been blinded. I was ashamed to only realize now that he too was hurting.